teach people how to find their voice and add power to it.
Have you had any of your music placed in TV or film?
Yeah. Most recently, you get a royalty every time it's aired.
I feel like the NBA player that finally he's playing the game and he's like, you know what? I don't even want to play this no more. How come you ain't down there dancing? And I was like, well, I don't know how. He said, you don't know how to work? Put a vacuum in front of me. Let me show you what you do.
On the track.
Hey, what's going on, everybody? This is the Something in the Water podcast. I'm your host, Desko Martin, and this is
Cracka. And we got
James Gardin.
Yep. And so, how's everybody feeling today? It's just one thing I always want to talk about is how you're doing. So, some people just always say, "Oh, good, I'm doing good." But how are you actually feeling today, James? You can go ahead and start.
Today I woke up pretty early, had a productive day, got a workout in. I'm feeling good, feeling really good.
That's good.
Yeah,
that's good. Crack, what about you?
Got a lot of things going on. How are you?
I'm feeling good. I also have a lot of things going on. Sometimes I could definitely get down about it, but just be trying to see the brighter things of the situations. Yeah.
Okay.
What's something that you feel like are they bad things? Are they good things? Or
it's like evolving.
Okay. That's what's up.
But let's start with, I heard before we started filming, you guys were talking about he's the man up front at the Soul Lounge. What's that about?
Oh, yeah. No, I was just talking about, shout out to the Soul Lounge. We have a monthly event. It's actually twice a month now, but James, so I filmed the Soul Lounge. I filmed people dancing. There's a lot of people dancing, and James happens to be at the front of the stage. While I'm on the stage looking down, I usually find him dancing with some type. It could be any woman at that point. Any woman who wants to dance, James is right there behind them.
Yeah.
And he's having a good time. What do you think about that?
I think I come from an era where we're used to dancing when we hear music.
Yeah.
Like it's what we do. I don't understand going somewhere to hear music to sit there and look cool. I just have a good time. People want to dance, I'm gonna dance with them.
Yeah, I could tell you have a lot of confidence because I feel like maybe that era is a little bit different, but I remember at least my era, like you had to kind of like shimmy your way up behind them a little bit, and then they had to look at you, you know what I'm saying? But I feel like, a lot of people might actually just want to dance at the Soul Lounge too.
For sure, yeah. I think we got people that dance. And it's like a lot of it to me, it's like, I think about when I was in college, a lot of my friends, I had a lot of Caribbean friends.
Oh, yeah.
So that's just the culture, right?
Yeah, hell yeah.
It's like, and so when we go to the club, it might be like a gang of us, like 10 of us, girls and guys. So it's like, we're just all going to dance.
Yeah.
And it's nothing real serious about it.
Yeah. How do you feel about that, Crack? Have you ever just went to the club and danced with somebody?
No.
That's crazy. That's crazy.
That's not my cup of tea.
What about in your era, like in your high school before that?
I remember going to a party when I was like 14 or 15.
Like a house party?
It was a house party. I was the only white guy there, and it was a twerk fest.
Oh, yeah.
Literally, the whole basement was like couches and just girls bent over and dudes behind them.
Oh, yeah.
This was
I remember that era.
The work.
Oh,
era,
God, that is
where you work.
I don't even know if these kids know what that is.
Yeah, probably not.
Man.
But I remember I went upstairs to use the bathroom, and it was like one of the older brothers. And it was like, come here, white boy. How come you ain't down there dancing? And I was like, well, I don't know how. He said, you don't know how to work? He said, here, put a vacuum in front of me. He said, let me show you what you do. So I got taught how to work.
That's fire.
With a vacuum.
Hey.
And so then I went down in the basement to try it out, and then I had fun the rest of the night. But
that's hilarious. I remember my aunt, she used to have house parties, and I was like the youngest one. She always had to take me around, but I remember she would have house parties in the basement. And we were like at the apartments. We were on Turner, and used to open the door and it'd be like a strobe light. It'd be pitch black in the strobe light. And I remember I used to just be down there on the couch like this, like, yeah. Like I used to feel like I was the coolest. Everybody was dancing, lap dances and shit. And I was just like, yeah, but my mom used to always tell me I couldn't be down there. But yeah.
James, let's get deep. So for the people that don't know who you are, if you hop in, say, an Uber, and they're like, hey, so, what do you do? What do you say?
That's deep. I mean, I think I'd say I'm a creative. I make music. I'm also a teacher. I would say like I teach other people also. I think the way I like to say it, because maybe not everyone I teach is going to be an actual artist.
Yeah.
So I feel like my goal and everything is like I teach people how to find their voice and add power to it. Rather that be art, rather that be like you just being in a class. that's what I do. And I think I do that through my music too. So.
How long have you been doing music?
Ooh, a long time.
That's how I know you. It's from.
Yeah. It's funny because I think we met. I think you were still in high school.
Like, it was like
really?
A long time.
I think I went to your
that's
house.
crazy.
It was like me and J-Rod the Juggernaut.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
So it's 20 plus years. Yeah.
How'd you get started?
Fun. This is always funny. So in high school, and this is dating myself, but in high school, there's a movie that came out. You may have heard of it. It's called 8 Mile. It's a pretty good
high
one.
School, that's crazy.
Some people enjoy that film.
Yeah.
I enjoyed it a lot. And so like up until high school, I was like deathly shy. Like if you put me in front of a crowd, I'm not talking to anyone. So it's funny when you're like, you must be confident. Like high school James, I would have been like, no, I'm not confident at all. And I think what happened is I watched 8 Mile, and I mean, for those who haven't seen it, like a spoiler alert, but B-Rabbit like sort of finds himself after choking and then like basically throws all his flaws out there. So then you have no ammunition to hit him with. And when I saw that, I was like, yo, maybe I could do that. And then around that time, that's when, and you know this name, but that's when Filthy. was born.
Yeah.
And I was able to create an alias that wasn't me. And so for me, it was like, James is shy. And like for like 17, 18 years, James has been shy. But I'm like, Filthy's not shy. Filthy's like confident. Filthy's that guy. And so kind of to the point of like why I feel like I help people find their voice and add power to it. Like Filthy allowed me to be like, oh, all that shy stuff, that doesn't matter when Filthy's on the stage. And that's when I started.
That's awesome.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
And I didn't know you guys met before this.
Oh, yeah. No.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Yeah.
I feel like I met you at Guitar Center.
That's,
Yeah, so my friendship with you at least started with Guitar Center. I don't think you thought I was your friend at the time, but I definitely, every time I went, I was looking for you.
I respect that.
Yeah, I felt like you always had the best knowledge, and I felt like you were always being genuine. I feel like a lot of times you go places, and at that time I was looking for like music advice on what to get or what to do, and a lot of people don't care.
Yeah.
And you're the main person. Even now, I look at it, I'm like, oh, it makes sense because you teach people how to do music licensing. You help people, grow musically. So, yeah.
I think it's also like, admittedly, I think I suck at sales.
Yeah.
I probably don't, but in my head, I'm like, I can't convince someone to get more than what they actually want.
Yeah.
So I'm just literally like, on the sales floor, I'm like, what do you need? What solves your problem?
Yeah.
And every sometimes people are like, I need a new mic because it sounds bad. I'm like, are you even EQing your vocal? And they'd be like, no. And I'm like, okay, do that first. And if that doesn't help out, we'll come back. We can talk later. And I think most people have been like, all right, you need this mic right here. It's $1,000 to make you sound better. It's like, you're not even mixing anything. So it's not going to sound like, it might sound better out the gate, but like if you're not touching it, you're not doing anything.
So what is it that you do now, just for the people, to know as well? Just, I know you do some music licensing and stuff like that.
Yeah. So right now I work for a nonprofit, All Above Hip Hop Academy.
Yep.
And so with them, we teach youth how to write and produce music. And then outside of that, still writing, recording my own music, but a lot of it now I'm working with sync licensing agencies to pitch it to TV and film.
Have you had any of your music placed in TV or film?
Yeah. Most recently, I had a song and an ad for the Australian Open. And then like right before the new year started, I had a placement with the Portland Trail Blazers.
Yeah. Like, how did you find out about that? Like, how does that process work for someone that has no idea?
So for me, I kind of like fell into it. I was on an indie label for a while. And one of their main things was working in sync licensing. And so I'm always the type that I'm just going to ask questions. So like, as he's like pitching stuff, and like, I think the first placement I got was actually with Heat. They call me Heat. We got a placement on ESPN. And once that happened, I just started asking questions like, how does this work? Who are we working with? And I started finding out who these libraries were and who these agencies were. So I started researching them. And then I was like, wait, I can just like make stuff and make it sound like me, but try to pitch it for sync. Then I left the label, and then I was like, all right, I need to figure out how to get my own deal with these libraries. So then I just started hitting people up, and I was like,
and what is hitting people up? Like,
so hitting up agencies. So like, let's say I'll name some agencies. I feel it's always weird when people in sync never name who they work with. So like, there's a company called Marmoset. Yeah, so Marmoset, they're based in Portland. They're one of the ones I work with, and so I had worked with them in the label. So when I left the label, I was like, let me just reach out to them and be like, hey, I'm already in your catalog through this label. I want to do my own deal as an independent. And what's wild is it took maybe like 6 months for them to reply to my, like I had to keep emailing them until like they got to it. They're like, oh yeah, we love your stuff. Send us some more. And then I started working with them directly. And most agencies, if you go to their website, they'll have a submission area and you just have to look for it that way. I would say just because I see it popping up more, if there's companies that are making you pay a subscription for opportunities, I personally would shy away from that. Yeah. Just because there's so many good businesses that like want to rep artists. You just have to have stuff that they feel they could pitch, and then they'll sign an agreement with you, and they just want their percentage of the sync fee.
So like, let's say you submitted something, and then how do you find out if it gets picked?
So a cool thing, usually they will email you. A cool thing that Marmoset does that I wish like more companies do is they have a dashboard. And so I can look in there and see how many times someone has played and listened to one of my songs. And I can see when someone has downloaded it. So usually when I see they download it, I'm like, all right, so they're probably like testing it to picture. So there might be a good chance that they want to get it. And then there'll be a pending when they actually are like securing it for a job.
Okay. And then once that happens, what's like the next step or like in the process?
So the next step, usually the payout is quarterly. So you're probably just waiting to get paid. The negotiation of the price is usually with the agency and the music soup. So I don't really see that part. But usually it's a pretty fair amount.
Okay.
So like what would be the difference between like a streaming type situation and versus like a placement in the sense of like music royalties, like BMI and all that? Like, do you still like, do you register your stuff still with like a BMI and then it goes to that?
Yeah, you still want to register everything because, so we'll talk specifically like in TV. Like if you're on a TV show, you'll get a sync fee up front, but also there's another, because like shows get syndicated or they air multiple times, you get a royalty every time it's airing.
Oh, that's crazy.
And so TV is cool because although compared to other placements, the upfront ticket isn't as big. But like if it's a show that's huge, every time it airs, you keep getting a royalty. So that'll come in your ASCAP or BMI.
Wow, that's crazy.
Yeah.
So you're still getting paid even after you get paid?
Yeah. Like for an example, like I had a song in CW All American. And so like I see, like I can look in the dashboard. I'm like, oh yeah, that got a little money this month.
That's crazy. So how do you find catalogs?
So, because I feel like everyone has a different answer, but I feel like there's only really one answer. LinkedIn.
For real?
I think LinkedIn, like I've been playing around with LinkedIn lately, and like as I've followed a couple people that like I know are already in the space, then I start seeing them like they'll post on there when they get a placement and like tag the library or tag the agency, and then the agency is like responding back, and I'm like, oh, there's someone that works there.
Yeah.
And like low key, like I think everyone is like searching Google or searching Instagram, LinkedIn. Go to LinkedIn.
Okay.
Because I think that's where business is, right? That's like, I think that's technically the only like business to business social media platform. So it makes sense that that's where they would actually have conversation. Most of the people who work in sync who have like Instagrams, that's just where they post pictures of their family and their dog. They actually don't want you in their DMs.
Yeah.
So at this point, do you feel like you're making music more for sync than streaming?
So I think I got lucky where what I make kind of already works.
Okay.
Yeah. So it's like my music, for the most part, is always pretty clean. I don't really cuss my music.
Yeah.
It's also like I don't, and it's funny because for a while I wanted to be able to do this, but like I feel like Drake does a good job of he'll name like real people's real names in songs, and like I don't really do that.
Yeah.
I might have a concept, but it's never like too much into my personal life. So I think because of that, it can be a little more universal to different situations. And I think I just realized like the stuff that I already want to make kind of already works. So,
so you don't have to do too much tweaking or changing.
Not really. Like my stuff's already encouraging. So if I'm doing an encouraging, hype, motivational record, that works for sports. Or if I want to do something groovy, that works for an ad. So I'm not really stretching myself to do anything weird.
What's your process now for creating music? Or how often do you do it? Do you have like a routine, a schedule, or are you figuring that out?
Oh, I'm creating all the time. Like I think I probably made the most music I've ever made last year. I think right now, sometimes what I actually do, so there's a site It's called iSpot.tv.
Mm-hmm.
In that website, you can actually look up, for the most part, every ad that's out. And you can look at like the ad agency that worked on it, but you also look at the song that's in it. And so sometimes I'll go through there and look at like what are people actually purchasing and like what sounds like what I like to make.
Mm-hmm.
And then it's at that point, there's a couple of producers that I work with a lot that already work in sync. And some of them I work with just on my regular stuff too. So it's easy. So I'm like, yo, you got something that's groovy, throw that my way. Or sometimes I'll get briefs. We had got a brief maybe last week looking for like just like sports music. And so I hit up a producer. I was like, you got anything close to this reference? Sent them the reference. He sent me 2. We finished that. We'll probably submit them. I haven't checked my email. If not tonight, we'll submit them tomorrow.
Okay.
What keeps you still going? Like, what keeps you still passionate about music or about creating music, stuff like that?
So with sync, I think and there's a guy named Gardin. He calls himself Sync Beast. And he says this thing about like sync is a game. And I think that's what kind of keeps me going. Like, I like trying something new and trying to solve it.
Yeah.
So
problem solver.
Yeah. So right now it's almost like, all right, how do I do this in the best way possible? It's like, how do I scale it? How do I make it bigger? How do I do more of it? And so as much as like I love being creative, I also like building stuff. And so I think right now it's like, as I'm learning and I'm realizing there's more and more I can learn, that's just exciting to me. It's like, oh, I didn't even know that. Or like, I'll figure something out and be like, that makes sense. Why didn't I think of that? I think that problem solving is what's exciting. I think once I feel like there's nothing I can learn from something, that's probably when it'll no longer be fun.
Yeah. Have you ever felt defeated with music?
I mean, yeah, I've been doing this for 20 years. It's like rejection is a part of it. Like I think there's been like many times I'll think a song is perfect for something and it doesn't work out. Or like even, I want to say towards the tail end of last year, I had a couple releases and I'm like, this record's really good. And it was a dud. Like it didn't really do anything. I'm like, or the dreaded submit hub, like you'll send something on the song, like, yo, the song's pretty good, but I don't like this part. I'm like, what are you even talking about? Yeah. But like, that rejection, it happens. And sometimes you be like, maybe I'm just like doing the wrong thing. Maybe this isn't going to work.
So what type of mindset do you feel like you have to be able to overcome that?
I mean, you just have to be resilient. Like, I think you have to realize everything's not for everyone. You're going to get a lot of no's. But like, what is it? I want to say, I'm probably going to misquote it. So someone can Google it later. But I feel like MJ's like shooting percentage is like what, 30, 40%? Like a good NBA percentage is like under 50. Yeah, right? For sure. And so it's like, what the hell do I think? I'm going to be like shooting 70% in this? Like I'm not. I just need to take more shots. And I think that's me. It's just like, I think part of it is like, I don't know how to quit. Like I'm kind of stubborn in that way. And so even if it looks like I'm losing, I'm like, there might be a way I can figure this out. So I'm just always going to try.
Yeah. What about you, Cracka? You ever felt defeated with music? You ever feel like you wanted to put it down, but then you kind of just, overcame that?
I would say right now.
Right now?
yeah. That's part
crazy.
of me evolving is I think I'm going to move on to the next chapter.
And what does that look like for you?
Figuring that out right now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Definitely.
I think that we had a good talk. Remember you were like, we went to a coffee shop. I seen you that day. Ain't that crazy?
Oh, yeah. We did see him that day. That's crazy.
Yeah. But yeah, that day at the coffee shop, Martin was asking me, he said, why do you still mess like with music and stuff? Yeah. And I was like, I don't know. And he said that he felt like my skills, I have way more potential, but I'm like choosing like music videos and like working with rappers and shit. And it's like, yo, if your same skills to like businesses, you'd make like 5 to 10 times the money. It's
We're
way
talking
easier.
about marketing and stuff.
Marketing and all that stuff. And at the time it was like, well, it's just kind of always been my hustle. Yeah. Like just, I need to pay bills, music video, studio time, beats and stuff. And I feel like the NBA player that finally he's playing the game and he's like, you know what? I don't even want to play this no more. Yeah. I don't get the fulfillment. I think I've just moved on. It's like anytime you've broken up with a girlfriend, the term where they say, it's not you, it's me. Yeah. That's how I feel now with just music in general, like music videos, studio. So it's scary because not knowing when you said like, what's next? And it's like, I don't know right now, to be honest with you. But yeah, that's crazy that you asked and then tied it in, and then here he is, and then we're at the coffee shop and we talking
that's
about
crazy.
it.
It is crazy to think though, because I definitely think like I haven't at least recorded music in a long time, just because like the stuff that's been going on, but I definitely like have the urge every day. So I think even when you stop, I think after a while you'll be like, hey, I gotta go make a beat. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So yeah, it's crazy. So what do you feel like, James, is most important when it comes to making music and sync licensing? Like, is there a specific like thing you want to talk about, or is there a specific like BPM or something like that?
I mean, so it depends on like what you're trying to do, right? I think like if we're looking at ads and if I'm trying to do something more that's like funk, groove, like pop influence, I'm probably gonna live somewhere between 105 to 115 BPM, right? If it's like sports, it might be like 130 or up.
Should everything be motivational with sync?
I don't know if it necessarily needs to be motivational. What I would say is that the listener should always feel in the positive. If that makes any sense?
Yeah.
So like it's funny because I was working on a record and someone like sent me back some notes, and it was like I said something where I was like, you, and then I think I'm like said something like you can never beat me or something like that. And they're like, you should change that you to they, because the listener should not be the one that feels like they're gonna get defeated while listening to it. Because you don't know what they're gonna use it for.
Yeah.
And I was like, that makes a lot of sense. I'm like, I don't even know why I did that. I was like, you're right. And so I switched it. And it sounded better. It didn't feel like it changed anything like where I felt like I was forcing to not do what I want to do. I think outside of that, like I think the main thing in sync you want to always think about is like your arrangement. Because it's being used in picture, that you don't want verses bleeding into hooks, because they might just want to start with the intro into the hook. So they got to be able to have a clean cut. You can do ad-libs. You don't want too much ad-libs, because they might want to do a voiceover. And so it's just, I think it's a mindset shift of, yes, you are making music, make the best music possible, but understand your music is secondary to the medium it's going to be used in. The visual, the story is the most important thing. Yeah, but I think that kind of makes it fun. Like I like being able to
like
watch
a puzzle.
something.
Yeah, that's crazy. So how do you feel like, with your life, with everything you got going on, like where does sync licensing play long term for you?
I think it's gonna be something I'm doing for a long time. It's funny. I think like I've been thinking about starting like I don't even know really what it's gonna be. Like I don't really want to sell classes, but I kind of want to like curate writing camps where we're basically like, let's bang out 10 records. Here's a brief. Let's get it. Let's pitch it. The more I get into it, because now I'm like, I have to like watch film to understand like what works and what doesn't work. I probably will down the line. And I have a friend that kind of wants me to work on one project. I think music supervision probably is something I'll get into. I don't know if I'll get into film. I think like I want to like learn more now.
Yeah.
But it's funny. I was telling someone that like, I think, and we have a lot of discourse about this. I think like everyone has this conversation that like rap is a young man's sport. The film industry isn't though. Like Hans Zimmer is old, but if you have opportunity to have him score your film, you're gonna be like, nah, I want this 20-year-old to do it. It's like, no, he's that guy. And so I think it's an interesting thing where like there's way more longevity in TV and film. And it's also interesting because a lot of the heavy hitters like that I see in sync that are like getting mad placements, and I know they're all touching like over 6 figures, all older than me.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Do you think that most music artists are making just selfish music? Because when you were talking about, he told you, yo, say they, not you, so that way the listener can view it. I've done studio time for so many artists, and it'd be like me making a song, and it's all about Cracka, and I'm spelling my name, and this is why you're not me. But when I listen to their songs, I'm like, bro, this is a theme song for you. Yeah. How can my sister ride to work and listen to this? How can I listen to? How can anyone listen to this and relate other than you?
Be in the car, be like, y'all broke as fuck. Like damn, damn, I am.
No, I think you're right, because I think like part of sync is like it can't be selfish, right? Like you're making it to elevate a brand or elevate a story that's being told. So I think
you're making it intentionally for other people to relate.
Yeah,
you know.
Yeah, and I think it honestly makes music that people can relate to better or easier because it's not just about you. Like, and if they're not, yeah, I think to your point, I think a lot of people are making more selfish music. And I think maybe when you get to a certain level, that's easy, right? Like Drake can do that, and we're gonna listen because he's Drake.
Yeah.
But if you're not Drake,
hey, but
like,
at some point, I feel like he builds his choruses kind of like for everyone though.
Facts.
Because like that song "Fuck My Ex," like everybody wants to sing that.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So at some point, I think it's like a little mix. I kind of want both of you guys' opinion on this because one time I think I heard you, James. I forgot who you were having a conversation with, but you're talking about how like Lansing used to be one of those main scenes, like those main music scenes that people had to come through to do event wise. So how do you feel like how was it back then and how has it changed now? Because I remember, I think you had a Macklemore story.
Yeah, because I opened up for him.
Yeah.
Like, which was crazy. It was like 2009, so he wasn't even like.
Yeah,
the
I want to hear
people
about that.
know. Yeah. Like, so I think, like back in my day. I mean, I think one we had like there was a monthly that went on called Respiration, and so it was like it was really cool. Basically, what they would do is you wouldn't know the lineup till the day of. And then what they had is there was an open mic. So you could sign up for the open mic. And then you would like, local acts would perform on the open mic. And then there might be like 2 or 3 like featured acts that would perform. And so as they were building that, it would be like Detroit artists. I think I remember seeing One Below, Liza Garza, who had like been on Def Poetry Jam. Like a bunch of people would just like come there. Sometimes when people are on tour, like they would just make a stop in Lansing.
Yeah.
I think around that time, then like because before that monthly there was this weird space in time where every venue in Lansing, if you said rap or hip hop, they were like no, and like it was bad. It was bad. Like if you had one show a year, that was great. But then it got to a point where like everywhere was like, oh, this makes money, and everyone wanted to do it. Like there's a point where, and it's funny, you can probably find videos, but it won't look like what it is now. But Max Bar, I think they realized hip hop was such like a moneymaker. Yeah. The background of their stage was like graffiti. Like they had someone do graffiti for it. But I think back then, like there was OGs that like the young artists could watch and learn from. There's people touring that was stopping Lansing. Like I think we were even rivaling Ann Arbor and Grand Rapids. Like I think people would choose between that. Yeah. And it's like we had Macklemore a couple times. Yeah. I think Chance the Rapper played here like a couple days before Acid Rap dropped. And so like, and that was also, there was a booking company called Fusion Shows. Yeah. And they were pretty much bringing a lot of acts through Lansing. So we had that. And I think we had venues, we had a promotion company. So there was like an infrastructure for that. And we had artists who had been doing it for a while and new artists that could sort of like be in the same area. I think now, like I try to go to shows and like I'll check them out. None of the young kids know who I am, but I'm like, I'm just gonna check it out, see what's going on. But I think now there's probably more of a division between like the older artists and younger artists. Yeah. I don't think a lot of the older artists are putting on the younger artists. I see a lot of shows where it's like, come here and perform, but you got to pay to come in. Yeah. No one's really, like I even look at some of my students that are now adults and I'm like, dog, they don't even know how to navigate this. Don't even like, they'll do a show and be like, they didn't pay me. I'm like, wait, how are you talking to them before the show happened? And so some of these kids don't know how to navigate that. I see shows where I'm like, y'all don't even know how to, like, I don't think people know how to sell hard tickets. They don't know how to convince people to come out and spend money with them.
Do you have any tips for artists out there for selling tickets?
You got to hit people up. Like the method I usually use, and I will admittedly say this is like uncomfortable as hell. So I don't want them to think like I'm just comfortable and confident. And if it's uncomfortable, they shouldn't do it. Yeah. I will, if I'm throwing a show, and like I might do the Facebook event and I'm only doing that to capture like who's saying they're interested. Yeah. I will send people, like I will go through and send 50 video messages. And like I'll be like, yo, Desko, haven't seen you in a while. I would love if you can come out to my show. Yo, if you can't, let's catch up anyways. And I'm not even saying that just to say that. Like if someone's like, I can't come, let's get coffee. I'm down to do that. Yeah. And so like, and what I realize what ends up happening is when people come to the show, they're like, yo, James invited me personally. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? It's like, so it's like, you have to be willing to spend that time to do that. If you think you're just going to do a promoted ad and like post it a couple times, people aren't going to come for that. Like you need to connect to people and you need to let them know. I think the thing is you have to let people know that you want them specifically to come.
Yeah.
Yeah, people just want to feel special and they want to feel like it's about them. It's kind of the same thing with the music. The music can't be selfish. The way you reach out can't be selfish. You got to go to the people.
Yeah. And what about you, Crack? How do you feel like the music scene has changed?
In Lansing?
Yeah.
I look at things a different way. I look at it as with anything that I'm going into. So like, let's say I wanted to be a Lansing. I live in Lansing. I want to be an up and coming music artist. And if I'm thinking locally, the first thing I'm doing is looking at where's the top? What does that look like?
Yeah.
So who is the biggest music artist like here right now? And what does that picture look like? And if I see like, this guy's the biggest artist, how is he living? How much money is he making? What is he driving? Like, what is that lifestyle like? Okay, that doesn't look interesting to me. So I'm not interested. I'm going to find a different route, because I used to talk about that with when people make like top 10 local artist tips and stuff like that. I'm like, it's irrelevant if first place isn't good.
Yeah.
Like if first place is like, this guy's a millionaire, he's got a yacht, he's living like this. Okay, it's worth even having the conversation. But if first place is he works at GM, why even have the conversation?
That's real.
But do you guys feel like, I want to get both of you guys' opinion on this too, just because me growing up, trying to do shows and stuff, trying to do music, it's always been pay for play. I've never gotten paid for a show in the sense of me being like, oh, I want to do this show. It's always been like, all right, bet 1,500 or all right, bet 500. So for me, that fizzled out early because it was just like, bro, I'm not about to, and I'm not about to pay to do a show. So do you feel like, I feel like in Lansing, it's either like somebody takes advantage of you or they have love for you. And I feel like it's more taking advantage than love. Do you feel like that's always been that way in Lansing, or do you feel like that's changed over time? Because,
you know what I think that, and maybe it was like just young delusion. I think like once I got into it, I was like, why do I need this middleman? And so for me, I was literally like, I would go to shows and then like, I just talked to everyone. I talked to bartenders. I talked to the owner. Then I'm like, okay, cool. So this person promoted that show. Why can't I just email the venue myself? And I don't think these young kids are even thinking that. I think they're thinking like, someone needs to put this together and do this for me. Me, I was like, I just watched enough shows that I was like, I think I can do this. And if I mess up, oh well. And then the first one went well. I was like, all right, I'll try it again. I think, and I will also say there was people who were throwing shows that were willing to tell me like insight on how they did it. I think right now, to your point, I think there's people who are doing it. They're like, all right, I'm going to hold on to a good thing. I'm not going to let these other cats know that they could just email this. Like, I look at local showcases. I'm like, these 12 artists that hopped on this show could have literally just emailed the venue themselves. And this person that's not paying them could be cut out and they could all get paid. I don't even think they're thinking.
Do you think that's a good thing though? Pay for play?
No,
I don't think so.
I don't think it. I mean, so I know people who will buy onto a tour, right? And if that's an investment that like that tour makes sense to you and you can make money off of it, then maybe. But like, I think paying for exposure that won't make you more money, no. And like, I think there's ways like I've opened up for people just by emailing the venue and then the venue talking to their agent.
Okay.
So it's even like the pathway of like, I need to pay to open up for this person. You probably could have you probably could have like went around whoever's
that's
like
crazy. That's a cheat code for real.
It's like just email the venue, but like, do they need local support? I think I think my music fits their fan base really well. Send them some links, and then they send those links to the agent. If the agent's like, oh yeah, this works, then you're on it.
Did you have to buy tickets? That's when I used to. Back in my day when I was a rapper, that was the move. It was like, yo, if you want to open for whoever, you got to buy 20 tickets up front. So I would buy them with my money, and then I would sell them, make my money back, or make a little bit of money on top of it.
So I remember when Fusion existed, they didn't do the buy tickets. You would get tickets, but then you had to move those tickets. Another finesse I would do is like sometimes what I'll do is I'll look on a venue's website, and if I see like an act that I'm like, because sometimes they don't know who they booked, right? And I'll look at the act and I'm like, oh, that act's going to sell out. I don't think they know that act's going to sell out, but that act's going to sell out. And I don't see anyone else on the bill. I might purposely wait 2 weeks before the show and be like, hey, do you need local support? And I'm like, sure, yeah, thank you. You're not going to send me tickets. I just go to the show to sell out. I'm like, I'm in there. You don't need empathy. Like sometimes, like if you really are watching like someone's career, you can kind of tell and be like, I don't need to move those tickets.
Yeah.
But whenever I worked with Fusion, it wasn't a buy tickets first. It was like they'd give me, they're like, how many you think you move? Like, give me like 30, and then I'd move those by like hitting people up personally.
Any book recommendations? Are you into reading?
Oh, I love reading.
Yeah. What if you had to give, maybe a handful of book recommendations that helped you the most? What would they be?
I mean, one is like the Four Agreements. Someone just tweeted about today. I was like, I read that book like 2 times a year. Like,
what's like the summary of that book?
I'm trying to think. What are the? I can't remember all the 4 agreements. There's one that's like really good. That was like, take nothing personal. And like, it's literally like when someone's upset with you, it's actually just them like projecting they're upset with themselves. Like, yeah, you might do stuff that wrong people, but like the level of how much they're upset, it shouldn't like you shouldn't take things personally. I think that one's a good one. I mean, I feel like everyone says this one, but I love The Alchemist. Like, I think it's really good about like purpose.
Have you read that?
Your path. Have you read it?
I haven't.
Oh, it's a good
one.
It's so good.
Yeah,
it's really good. I just read recently The Miracle Equation, and that one was really, really good.
What's that about?
So it's I think he's actually the same person who wrote like about like the Miracle Morning, like the whole routine.
Okay.
But it's literally like he says, what is it? You can make anything happen with like unwavering faith, and like I forget the word he uses, but it's like just like essentially working hard as hell. So it's like if you continue to remind yourself what that goal is and then do everything you can to make it happen, you can make, he basically says like you can make miracles happen. But it's like you have to remind yourself that this is the reality you want, but then you have to work hard as hell, which I think is better than like, I feel like TikTok is like, just be delusional and it'll happen. It's like slightly be delusional, but like have a plan of like what do I repeatedly need to do or repeatedly need to be for that to actually exist.
How'd you get to that point though, mentally, like to know that? Because that's some maturity and knowledge to know that.
Age. I think it's really age. Like I think young me would have been like, nah, I can make everything happen, but not realizing like, but I also have to like work really, really hard. Yeah, I think as I got older, it makes sense to me. And I think it's, I mean, I think part of it too is like, I think my faith is a lot of like, just, I can believe that good is still out there if I'm still alive, but I know it's going to have to take like hard work. Like I can't reap anything I don't sow. So like I have to plant those seeds if I want to see them actually grow. I can't take someone else's crop. That don't work.
And how do you schedule your day? Like just to make sure no extra time gets past you or you don't waste time.
I'm a crazy routine person. I used to like write out each, like itemize everything. Like I might be like 6 to 6:30 a.m.
Yeah.
I'm gonna brush my teeth. Like I'm not that crazy anymore, but I am big on to-do lists. So like I have a routine. Like I'm like every morning, I need to like have some sort of physical activity. I need to meditate. I need to journal. I need to read. I need to walk my dog because I need to just get outside and breathe air. And so it's funny. I tell people I'm a morning person because I give the first hour to myself. So I prime myself for people. So before I even like interact with anyone, I'm doing all that. And then I'll just like plan out. I have like a list of like what I need to do for ALTA, and there's a list for that. What I need to do for music, and there's a list for that. And I just get through that. Like this was on my to-do list. So when I leave here, I'm gonna check that off. But yeah, I try to put everything as like what's important, what needs to get done, what has a deadline, something, and I'll look at it too. So if I'm like, does it have a deadline? No, let's get these deadline things first and try to do the things I don't want to do. Like I had to make some PowerPoints and stuff today. I didn't want to do it, so I was like, you know what? We're just gonna do this first. Yeah, and I just got through it.
You a caffeine guy?
Yeah. I'm a coffee guy.
Coffee?
Yep. Americano, no sugar.
Okay.
No milk. If I could just eat the beans, I would. Just take the water out, give me straight caffeine.
So how important is, you said you meditate, you said you like to get outside in the morning. How important is mental health to you?
It's the most important thing. Like, it's funny. I feel like a lot of people shy away from it, I think, because like even the term mental health might feel scary.
Yeah.
I always tell people, like, if we called it mental fitness, like, people would be like super into it. They'd be like, oh yeah,
That's a good way to look at it.
You know, I'm getting these mental gains. You know what I'm saying? Like, everyone loves fitness. No one, and so for me, like, I think I've always been someone that, even growing up, like, I think I've always been like comfortable like saying how I feel. But I think that's only like the first step. And so I probably should sign up again. But like maybe like 2 years ago, I was doing therapy for a while. And like it was just good to talk to someone, process through things, get some tools to figure out how to deal with like what I was thinking, what I was feeling, figure out what the root source of it was. But yeah, I think if your mental's not good, you're not good anywhere else. Like, you might think you are. You might be able to like maintain it for a while, but it's not sustainable. It's not sustainable at all.
Yeah.
Do you think that you can make like a positive, feel-good, motivational song but feel depressed? Have you ever recorded a song but then felt differently?
You know, I think you can. I think a lot of times, yeah, hell yeah. I think you can. I think I've probably done it a lot of times. To be totally honest. Like, if I'm honest, I think like starting out, I think I made a lot of positive music because I needed the encouragement first.
Yeah.
And so I think that probably is a lot of the driving force. Like, I have a lot of thoughts in my head and it's like, dang, this could be really, really depressing. And I need someone to say something good. And if it's just me, then I end up writing a record to do that. And like, it's weird. Like, I'm not the type to like, I don't even ride to my own music, but there'll be sometimes I'll revisit a song. I'm like, ooh, I needed that. You're kind of talking to yourself. Or like, I'll listen to a record and I'm like, dang, I know what was going on there. And I didn't realize that I was like processing it through that way. I think it's possible. It may not be healthy, but I think it's possible.
Well, I think most of my inspiring or motivational shit that I'm saying or things that I post are advice to myself at the time.
Sometimes I wish I'd listen, but I think like it's funny. It's like I can encourage the hell out of someone else, and then it's like, cool, James, listen to that. Like, you're telling them that, listen to that. And so I think journaling helps me with that though, because I can sort of like write it and flesh it out. I'm like, that is right, that is true, and get those ideas out.
Do you journal?
Yeah.
What's your process?
Me lately, I've been journaling just about what's been happening throughout the day and how I feel. So like, I feel like an actual journal. But I was gonna ask you, what's your journaling process too? Because I feel like some people also, what I kind of want to start doing is kind of like talking to myself more, kind of in the sense like, okay, what do you want to do? Who do you want to be? Almost like asking myself questions and then responding to them.
So I think this is something I started maybe like halfway through last year. I found out about this. You got to pay for it, but it's an app called Mind Sarah. And
Mind Sarah?
Yeah, like SERA or something. Yeah, Mind Sarah. But it uses AI. And so I can do this there's like a one setting where like as I type, it'll read what I'm typing. And then to kind of like the conversation with myself, it'll ask me a question. Like, what do you think would help you do that better? It's like, well, maybe this and maybe that. And then it'll be like, all right, so how can you make a step to do that? And like, that's actually been cool to like process stuff because I literally have like I'm talking to a robot, but it's literally like walking me through it. It also has some like crazy things where like they analyze the interviews and like I could talk to Elon Musk and ask for like advice, or I could talk to like Steve Jobs, which is kind of
that's crazy.
But like it uses AI and tries to like guess what they would say. But I use that a lot. It also has some like different journal techniques that you can go through that won't be AI, but it's like steps like I don't know, there's like a blue ocean strategy. It's like a business one, but basically like you answer these questions to figure like what your business could do that no one else is doing. And so yeah, it has different things about like mental health business and just like wellness. But the AI one is like killing because I'll be like, I don't know what to write. And I'll write and ask me a question. I'm like, I don't know if I want to answer that right now, but I guess I have to.
That reminds me of this one time. I think about it all the time actually, but this one time, this kid that I went to school with, this white kid, he was just telling me like, yeah, like, cause we were talking about religion. And I was like, do you pray? He was like, yeah, my dad taught me how to talk to God.
That's
and
aggressive.
Yeah, no, and it was an aggressive thing. And he was like, white kid. I don't know if I said that, but
you did. I was about to say, why did you say white kid?
No, because the importance of the story is that he was white, right?
Yeah.
No, because no offense, no, but because religion, I feel like in my household is kind of like, you respect God, you fear God, you know, you talk to God, and this kid, he was like, yeah. He was like, you want to know the stuff that I learned that my dad taught me? You demand that God does something from you. You demand this, like, and I kind of, till this day, I still think about it all the time because I'm like, okay, that works for them. You know what I'm saying? If that can work for them, I'm like, well, maybe I'm doing it wrong. But me, I would never talk to God like that. You know what I'm saying? So for me, I'm a religious person, but I do talk to myself like that. So I kind of took that and I was just like, when I talk about, you know, it's kind of like faith, but faith in myself. I'm going to demand stuff from myself.
That's good.
You know what I'm saying? Yeah. But what about you, Crack?
With what?
How do
Are you wondering if I'm white and I prayed like that?
You were yelling at God.
Yeah. Is that a white thing?
No, it was crazy, bro. I was just like, I was dumbfounded. I was like, what is going on?
I was
right
listening the whole time. Like, my dad taught me the same shit.
Nah, but do you journal?
Yeah, I read, I think it was like The Miracle Morning or something like that. Craig Ballantyne wrote it, and it came with a pad of paper. And the pad of paper was like a daily planner where it would say, it'd have all these lines on the left side where you could write the time and then kind of your schedule.
Yeah.
And the top right, it was what is your one main priority task of the day? And then there was an area for notes, and then there was an area for brain dump. And I would use those areas for like,
That's dope.
sit there and be like, I love my family. I'm grateful for my health and my. I'd write stuff like that, and but I need to do that way more. Journaling and definitely meditation. Yeah, because I know you meditate.
Yep.
So,
and you meditate.
Yeah.
Is it daily?
Yeah.
Okay.
Maybe even twice a day.
I wish it was daily for me. I need to get back to it.
I use a lot of technology, so I use an app. So it'll range. Like I'll look at what the focus of like the guided meditation is. Sometimes it might be 5 minutes. Sometimes I'm like, if I feel like I'm really in my head, I might do like a 10-minute. If I'm really in my head, I might do a 30. Boy, like I'll sit there for as long as I need it.
Is it a certain way you sit or how to?
Sometimes I lay down. Sometimes I'm sitting. But I also think like walking is meditative. Like it's meditation for me too.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And so like sometimes even like I'll leave my phone at the crib on purpose and like no headphones and just like take my dog and just like walk and just be with my thoughts. And I think that works too. Like I know there's some practices where they have you walking with your eyes open. So I don't think it necessarily needs to be like crisscross applesauce with your eyes closed every single time.
Okay. I like that you said was it in the gym, like mental fitness?
Yeah, mental fitness.
That's a great way to think of it. Because I remember whenever I would ask people about meditating, and it would always be like, well, I suck at meditating. I always get, it's like, that's the whole purpose of meditating. That means like you're weak. That's like you're trying to curl 3 pounds or something and you're
gotta get your reps in.
You gotta get the reps in.
Yeah.
So it's like you strengthen that. So yeah, starting tomorrow.
Hey, starting tomorrow.
Amen.
Starting tomorrow.
I like hearing about all the apps you've been using. I damn near feel like we need to have a segment about lifestyle apps.
That could be fire.
Yeah, what do you feel like just on a day-to-day basis? What
That's a
are,
good question.
let's say, what are like the top 4 or 5 apps that you use?
So it'll be mine, Sarah. I forget the name of the meditation one. Notion. Like
Notion.
I live on Notion. Like that's where my to-do list is at.
Okay.
I put a whole hub of all the links I need because at first I had mad tabs open. And it's like, let me just make a Notion page with all the links and I can just go there. As of late, LinkedIn. Like I'll be on that boy studying.
I'll be on there too.
Yeah, I think those are the main ones. Can't think of it like outside of like social media.
Yeah.
That's just, actually, no, I'll throw another one. Desko. So Desko is like, it's a lot of people use it for sync licensing. But like, it's a cool, like, I guess I would say it's similar to like your SoundCloud or like somewhere you would share music links. But the cool thing is like, I can make like make a playlist of songs and then I can put in like all the PRO information and the splits for the song. I can put the lyrics in the metadata for it. I can put my email. I can put what the like genre is, what the vibe, like if it's energetic, if it's encouraging. And then what's cool is when I send it, like I'll use that to send to music supervisors or to an agency. I can see when they play it. I can see where they download it.
Oh, wow.
So it lets me know where that music is actually going.
Yeah.
That's probably where I live right now. Those apps.
Yeah. What about you, Crack? Do you feel like it's anything just for your everyday life that those apps that you use that help?
I use the timer a lot.
Okay, the timer.
Yeah, anytime I like sit down to edit, I always turn a timer on, and then if I gotta go pee, I hit pause and then go up, just so I can keep track of the time.
Yeah.
Google Docs.
Google Docs.
I have hundreds of them. A lot of them with the same thing. like I have probably like 30 different Google Docs about YouTube.
Mm-hmm.
That's hilarious.
Which is unorganized and chaos. And I've always been interested in Notion. I just I seen something somewhere where it was talking about like Notion is supposed to be a productivity hack, but it can turn in, not for you, but it can turn into like a full-time gig of like,
oh, for sure,
managing and manipulating and all that stuff.
Yeah.
And that's how it was for me. It was like, basically I'd spend a whole day just trying to like set it up the way I wanted it, and I never got it the way I wanted it.
Yeah.
I was like, bro, at this point I'm just, I'll go back to my 100 Google Docs. But yeah, Google Docs, I think, is the majority. What about you?
Me, my notes. Like this podcast, I feel like just certain things, like important things, I'll have a note for each day. So I'll be like, okay, I need to do this, which I know there's better ways of doing that. But for me, it's like the one place I'm gonna go to is my notes, and I'm gonna see everything that's important for the day. But I definitely want to get into more like, like managing time. I definitely want to get into meditation, stuff like that. And I feel like there's been cool apps I've been kind of seeing that I've been wanting to try out. What do you guys feel like is important when it comes to time management with creating versus like your personal time? It like for you, Crack, it would be like your family time versus creating, or like, I don't know if you have kids or anything like that at all, but even just family time. Yeah. Like, how do you guys balance that?
I mean, I think you make time for all of it. Like, I think it all feeds each other. Like, if you work and there's no time for family, then you wake up one day and they're not there, right? Like, and so for me, I mean, I think even in my to-do list, like, I might throw that in there. Like, if it's, yeah, like if it's like, I'm trying to think when the Color Purple came out, I was like, that's one of my mom's favorite movies. Take mom to the movie.
That's hard.
Put that on the list. I think you have to make time for it. And it's like, with being creative, if you're not living life, you're going to run out of juice.
Yeah.
Like, you can't create from a life not lived. I don't think you can.
Yeah.
I wonder if that's part of my like lack of creativity right now with like music videos
always
and
working.
stuff is just just constantly turned on.
Yeah.
And not off.
Yeah, I think you have to turn it off.
Yeah, but it's crazy that you say that though, because I really respect that you don't answer your phone calls sometimes. Because I've been one of them people lately that's been trying not to answer my phone calls, like in the morning or on the weekends. Like the other weekend, I promised my girl, like, oh yeah, we're gonna sleep in. I'm not gonna get up. I'm not gonna edit. You know what I'm saying? Stuff like that. And then somebody calls me and they're like, hey, can I borrow this equipment? And then I'm like, all right, bro. But yes, but after 12 or something, And I've just been kind of like realizing like, damn, just the importance of the other side of your life. You know what I'm saying? Because I have a friend that likes to tell people he has meetings all the time. So I'm like, oh, hey, what are you doing? Oh, I'm in a meeting, or I have a meeting. And then it finally caught up to him where he was like, bro, like, I tell so many people I have a meeting. Like, I don't know where my friends went, and my family don't want to talk to me. You know what I'm saying? Like, and I just realized like it's a whole nother part of this situation that you have to make sure you're always giving that attention to.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, what was young James like? I've never heard any stories or anything like that about young James.
How young?
Down to maybe even like, let's say around like 10, 12, stuff like that.
It's funny. I think like young James, like, 10 or 12, small, scrawny kid. I loved visual art back then, so I used to draw and paint a lot before I even touched music. Well, also because I was just shy. There's no way I'm going on a stage. Well, no, I did write my first rap when I was 9.
Okay.
Yeah, it was for a drug-free rap contest.
What inspired that?
I was trying to win. I think there was like a cash prize. I didn't win though.
Yeah.
I'm still a little. jaded because the kid who won, I think her dad was a rapper. So like, he helped her out. I remember watching. I was like, "Dog, we didn't have music."
Makes sense now.
Yeah, like, it was so funny.
Yeah.
But like, I think like I was just like a young kid, always like sort of to myself. I think always watching and observing what's going on. Just trying to fill out space. Like I had friends, but I think like I would always, if I went to a space, I might look and be like, do I want to be friends with you?
Mm-hmm.
And I just watch people and they might be like, oh, maybe he's just like, he doesn't have friends. Like, no, I'm just trying to figure out if I actually want to rock with you or not.
Yeah.
And then when I feel like I could trust someone, I would open up. I think young James is just drawing or in the church. Like that's where I was at all my young life.
Do you think the church inspired the music?
I think it did, yeah. I mean, I grew up like listening to people like Kirk Franklin, like Fred Hammond. And so a lot of that stuff was still like influenced by like what was outside of the church. So like I've always like wanted soul in my music. I was a kid that if you're at church, you have to serve in at least 2 spaces. I was an usher and in the choir.
Yeah.
So even that like still gave me some stage time, although I was terrified.
Did you ever rap at church?
I did. There was a couple times they had me rap.
Yeah. Shout out my boy Mikey Austin, man. One time we were in school and I seen he was rapping. He was doing he was rapping gospel music and stuff.
Yeah.
And one time I hit him, I was like, yeah, bro, we should make a song. He was like, yeah, bro, like we don't make the same music. And I realized like gospel music is very different.
It's
you know what I'm saying?
different. That's how I first met him.
Really?
Yeah, he was like, I met Mikey. He was still in high school. And I was at a show and it was him, Hezekiah, and someone else. They were a band. And like Mikey was on the keys.
Yeah.
He had a mohawk.
That's crazy. It's probably around the same time. Oh, no. Because I think afterwards, after high school, I remember they lived together too and they were doing music
They
together.
were,
Yeah,
yeah.
that's crazy. Where do you feel like from here, where do you feel like your music, how has it evolved over time? Like, do you feel like early on, because I know like we were talking about the scene and everything, we were talking about Macklemore. I'm thinking like, okay, was your music kind of that style back then to where it is now?
So when I opened for Macklemore, he was probably, this is before he even worked with Ryan Lewis.
Okay, so it was less pop.
It was way less pop.
Okay.
Yeah, it was way less pop. I would say back then I probably was like a scale of 1 to 10, I was maybe like a 6.5 on the purist scale where it's like, you got to do this. You got to keep it real.
Yeah.
This is real. I don't really care about that now. Like, I like making great music and however that presents itself is what I'll do. I think now I'm a better songwriter. It's funny. I want to say around like 2015. I think it was 2015. I think it was Angel Hayes. She's like a rapper or they're a rapper. I think they identify as non-binary. But they had a song and it was like verse, pre-chorus, chorus. And I think it was the first time I ever like noticed a rapper doing that.
Yeah.
I thought, wait, I ain't got to rap 16. And if I have like more catchy parts, there's more opportunities for people to sing along.
Yeah.
And that like totally shifted it. And it was funny when I started working with producers and they sent me a beat. I'm like, all right, I like it. I kind of rearranged it a little bit because I just wrote something a little different. They're like, oh, okay. Like, you don't need to give me a full 16. I think for sports, I might write a full 16, but like a lot of times, I think like I look at songwriting more than I think in the past, I was like, let me write the dopest verse ever with the most punchlines. And now I'm like, let me write a record that feels more complete, that people can relate to, but also let me give them more opportunities to sing along to it. Sometimes all that lyrical miracle stuff is just unnecessary.
Yeah, both of you guys' opinion on this. Do you feel like both of your guys' jobs are the reason why maybe you started to be more consistent on social media? Because like sync licensing, I always see you doing, song lyrics and stuff like that on your social media. And then you like marketing, studio time, stuff like that. I always see you on social media. And now I feel like that's where you guys live comfortably. So is that what started it? Or do you feel like, was there something else where you were like, man, I need to just be on social media more?
It's interesting because I think, and I feel like, Cracka, like you might relate to this. I think people who have been doing music for a while, like if you've been doing music in the last 5 years, there isn't that much that has changed.
Yeah.
But like there was a change from CDs, iTunes, Spotify, social media didn't exist for a while.
Yeah.
And so I think if you've been doing this for, I feel like 10 plus years, you've been used to what worked, the floor leaving, and you had to adapt. And so I think for me, it's like when I notice what was working doesn't work anymore, I'm like, okay, what's new? Let's figure it out. Some people might like get scared and be like, oh no, I'm going to keep doing it my way. And I've just gotten used to the like, this thing could change at any point. Like I think there's a point where everyone was like, you need to make a list of playlists and pitch the playlist for Spotify. Now most people are like, nah, don't do that. Most of these playlists are botted.
Yep.
You just need, and like I credit I recently read his book, Nick D.
Yeah.
Like he talks about like, put the record out, stop doing these long rollouts. Like when you post it, the song should already be out. When someone asks about it, you can be like, yeah, it's out, pin their comment. Because I just make content for it. And then when something goes crazy, drop more music. And so it's even like this year, I'm like, all right, we're adapting. So I'm about to drop the most music I've dropped in a while. But I even looked at my data, which like years ago, we didn't have that opportunity, right? And I could look, I'm like, all right, this year is my best streaming year. I had maybe like 45 releases. This year was my worst one. I had 11 releases. Those have to correlate with each other. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, just got to release more times at bat, more shots taken. And so I think for me, like social media just makes sense because I see that's where their attention's at. If it ends up, the next step is we got to, I don't know, start like wearing LED t-shirts on the street, then I'm just going to adapt and start wearing LED.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, it's just, I'm used to, it's like we adapt.
Yeah.
MySpace is big, then it's gone. It's like, okay, what's next? Like, I think for me, I've just like came up where it's like, I don't control any of it. I can create, but the medium and how it's transferred or transported to people changes. I just have to adapt.
Yeah.
Yeah, the same. I think in my career, the beginning was trying to get good.
Yeah.
So it was like I started making beats, started making music, and I sucked. And I knew I sucked. So my main priority was like just getting good. And so I was just in the studio often, not worried about social media stuff.
Yeah.
Then it was I got to a point where I felt like I was pretty good and I was ready to kind of put myself out there. And then MySpace was the thing.
Yep.
So it was like MySpace and then learning about MySpace. And then now I'm comparing, then I'm seeing, I started off Lansing wise. Remember MySpace they had where you could sort top artists in Lansing and top artists in Michigan and different genres and stuff. I remember there was a time where on MySpace, and I was doing like some bot shit. Right, so I was doing some bot shit, full transparency.
Before it was bot shit, probably.
But I was like in the top 5 in Michigan.
That's crazy.
It was like Eminem, ICP, I want to say Royce the 5'9", Trick, Cracka was up there in the top 5, top 10. I had almost 200-something thousand friends on MySpace, and I had this little thing that would add 300 people every single day on autopilot.
Some bot shit early.
Yeah, hey, innovative. I'm not bad at it.
But yeah, with the social media, as far as now, I spent the last kind of 2 years slowing down a lot on my output.
Yeah.
To where like I was still posting, I would say way more than the average person, but I was storing so much footage that wasn't coming out. So I felt like I was only releasing 10% of all the content that I was doing. And it was really just overthinking everything. You know, getting too hung up on a bad post. So you post something and you're like, oh gosh, it did this bad. Oh no. So now let's sit down and think for 8 hours and rethink my whole life and my whole content strategy. Really. Yeah. And so the thing that I learned from slowing down on content creation and social media was I guaranteed that I stopped growing because I wasn't posting. Just like how you said, like your shitty streaming year, you put out not a lot of music. Yeah. So when I wasn't posting a whole lot of content for 2 years, like I stopped growing, my phone stopped ringing, and my income went way down.
Oh, wow.
So where I'm at now is it's more of like open the floodgates. And there's maybe some days where I post 3 to 5 times. There may be some days where I'm posting 1 or 2. But for the most part, if you look at my month, there's at least 30 posts going out there. And now I'm growing again. And how you're talking about at-bats, NBAs and stuff. So if I posted once a day for like the last 120 days or so, there's always that small percentage of ones that go off.
Right.
And so like right here, right now in this moment, I have 2 of them going off going viral, and now I'm getting thousands of followers, and my engagement is all up. But to go in like a positive, like advice-free game for people out there, I was doing a coaching call with someone this past weekend, and since we're talking about social media, I had asked him, and it's a good question for everyone to ask themselves, is if the opportunity were to happen right here, right now, where millions of people were going to flood your social media accounts, would you be ready? And when I asked him that, he was like, no. And I said, you have 5 posts on your page. I said, are you even ready? Because, you know, people are in their head and they're like, I got to figure out my thing and blah, blah, blah. But it's like, next thing you know, years went by, 2 years went by. It's like, you have nothing to show on your page. So now I look at social media. When I said it to him, I was like, ooh, I said it, but it was like, that was damn good, because that's a great way to think about social media, is because so many people, we all feel like we don't have the attention that we deserve. We deserve more attention and all this stuff. So it's like, okay, well, just treat your social media like you're just prepping. You're in the prepping stage, and it might be a month from now, someone's going to come across your page. So your job between now and whenever that opportunity is to get your shit in order. So that way, when they land on your page, and I said to him, I've been getting my shit in order for over a decade. So now that these posts are going off, I have over 5,000 posts on my page. Like, I'm perfectly set up. Yeah. Bring it on. Like, I'm overly prepared for that attention and opportunity, you know?
That's dope.
Yeah, I think it's crazy. I really appreciate both of you guys. I just want to let you guys know that, because I actually hit both of you guys up when I dropped my music video, Man's Heart. And I basically was telling Crack, like, all right, should I drop it? Because it's only an MP3 and it's not a WAV file.
Oh, yeah, I remember
And then I hit up James. I asked him the same thing, like, James, my file is an MP3 and it's not a WAV. Should I still drop it? And both of you guys are like, bro, just drop it.
Yeah.
like just drop it, bro. Come on. Like, and I think me being an overthinker and just hearing you guys kind of sort that out with yourselves, it makes me realize that, like, you just have to be consistent. That's the main thing, is consistency, no matter what you do. Even this podcast, like, when we start first dropping clips, I'm like, man, who's going to want to hear me talk? You know what I'm saying? But then, like, why I also appreciate you guys again is because then I see James at the Soul Lounge, and he confirms, like, hey, bro, I love what you guys are doing, you know? And then it's just like, holy shit. Like, it opens up my mind to, like, imagine what else you can do. Imagine what else we can do with whatever content we want to film. So there's, like, a really big importance to that. And just making sure, also giving people just their credit, and just making sure you're always kind of inspiring other people and just letting people know just how good they're doing. You know what I'm saying? Because when you said that, I was just like, it literally was coming from a point was like, who just wants to hear me talk? You know what I'm saying? Like, people been liking it, obviously, because I feel like they know me. But then it's just like, when you were like, oh, yeah, I listened to, even like the other day when you were like, I listened to Mondo podcast. Yeah. And it's just like, you know how good that feels? You know what I'm saying? Like, last question before we get out of here. I really want to know, where does your happiness come from? And how do you keep it going?
Dang, that's deep.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Yeah, you too, Crack. So think about it, you know?
I guess, I'm trying to think. I mean, I think part of it is probably like seeing people I care about, like, feel good and like doing good stuff for them. But I think part of my happiness is also like creating art, like however that looks, and creating it with other people. Like, I enjoy maybe making stuff by myself, but I think definitely, like, with how connected and disconnected we are, there's a lot of like, we'll just create through email. But I like getting in a room. I think that's why I really like teaching. Yeah. Because it's like, I'll be in there with 8, 9-year-olds, and I'm like, all right, let's figure this out. What type of song do we want to make? All right, you give me an idea. I like that idea. Let's try this. All right, hop on the mic. And I think I like making something that didn't exist with other people. And I think sometimes that might not even be like in a classroom. Like, it might be like, I enjoy volunteering. If we go to a garden and clean that boy up, like, that's fun. We just did this together. I think my happiness comes from community and creativity.
What about you, Crack?
Creating. Yeah. Creating. When with like the whole business side of things. I say this to my wife all the time, where it'll be moments where I'm kind of being a little bitch and I'm overwhelmed with stuff and I'm just venting. And I'll say something about like, I might be stuck with like when the computer was all shut down and I'm trying to like reinstall Windows or trying to troubleshoot. I was watching, if you would have walked in the room and seen the shit that I was listening to, it was like, okay, you're going to open up command prompt and then you're going to type this SRC space. Oh, I was in there. I was so deep, for like 5.5 hours. And I would turn around to her and I'd be like, this all started because I wanted to make beats. And like learning email marketing, then getting stuck and not knowing how to set up the automations and all these triggers and emails. And it'd be like, this all started because I want to make beats. I don't know where I was going with that. Happiness, creating. Yeah, I don't know where the hell I was going with that. We'll let that plane crash. I'm gonna try to land it. Creating, and that's where I was going. I figured it out. We just got the plane. We're gonna turn that thing around, land it. It was because it all started with creating, and when I do too much of the boring business, mundane stuff, and then my whole day-to-day fills with all of that, I get very dark, very depressed. And then the second I like get back around, you know, Malik or in the studio and I'm around people and I'm creating again, it fills my cup.
That's dope.
So it's like the behind the scenes business, tax, tracking income, outcome, all that website, that sucks the life out of me. But I understand that it's part of the process. But yeah, whenever I'm creating, like doing this type of stuff, talking to a camera, just it could be creating music, creating beats, creating video, creating audio, creating a business, creating an idea, just creating in general is what fills my cup. That makes me happy.
I heard someone once say like when you talk about like that business, like sort of like mundane but necessary stuff, they likened it to like leg day. Like you can't skip it, but you gotta do it. It's grueling sometimes.
You got all the gym analogies.
But you gotta get through it. It's like, oh man, freaking leg day. But you gotta do it because you need something to stand on.
Yeah, I think my happiness comes from creating as well, but also my happiness comes from knowing like it's not over. You know, like no matter what you do, no matter what type of day you're having, no matter what type of challenges you're facing, like it's always going to get better no matter what. That's like, even if you're at your lowest point and you feel like it's only getting worse, like it's only getting worse until it doesn't anymore. And so that's where my happiness comes from, knowing that it's only going to get better. And I feel like that's the kind of mindset I have in this life. Yeah. So go ahead, Crack, wrap it up for us. It up for us.
Where can everyone check you out?
Supercleanjames.com. It'll have all my socials there.
Super clean.
Say it one more time because you said a little too fast.
Supercleanjames.com. Everything there, all socials. You can email me there as well. Get in touch with me.
Guys, let us know in the comments what you think this episode should be called. We started doing that. I want to get them involved.
Yeah.
Right now, we've been just naming them Something in the Water, episode 1, episode 2, episode 3. But ideally, in the future, they should have names. I'm like, James, meet the guy that does this, or, you know, something. So let us know in the comments what you think this episode should be called. If you're watching on YouTube, please subscribe, give the video a thumbs up, drop a comment. Let us know what topics you want us to talk about more, guests you guys have in mind.
Yeah.
Please leave us a rating on Spotify. And thank you all for tuning in to Something in the Water.
Thank you.
Dope.